Hello there. If you're watching this video, then there's a really good chance that you're an IELTS candidate who wishes to prepare for his IELTS exam soon. And of course, you're preparing to answer all the 40 questions of the listening and the reading skills correctly. But have you asked yourself this question? How are your speaking skills evaluated? If reading and listening questions have 40 of them, what about speaking? You don't have a defined set of questions for that. So how exactly do you get your score? Why are you 7? Why are you 6? Why are you 6.5? How even is this calculated? Well, we're here to answer this question. Now you will know the standards on which your speaking skill is estimated. So it's not enough only to speak in a normal speed or to pronunciate all the words correctly. In the IELTS speaking exam, your score is set based on 4 main criteria, which are pronunciation, lexical resource, grammar range and accuracy, and fluency. And these 4 main criteria are even divided into sub-criteria. So let's start with pronunciation. So in order to get a high score in pronunciation, not only do you have to achieve an accurate word and sound pronunciation, which is only the first sub-criteria, but also you have to use intonation. And intonation has to do with your voice at the end of the sentence. Is it rising up or is it going down? For example, did you notice my last question? Is it rising up or is it going down? My voice, even when I'm saying down, it increased in volume. And also when I asked you this question, did you notice it in my last question? Always, when you're ending your questions, you have to raise your voice, and vice versa. When you state facts or when you say declarative sentences, you go with your voice down at the end of the sentence, just like the last sentence. I said at the end of the sentence. Did you notice that? I lowered my voice at the end of the sentence. But tell me, did you notice it? Just like that. And the third point is that your accent should not affect the meaning. So many people think that if I go to the IELTS exam with accent, I will not get a high score on pronunciation. However, the fact is the total opposite. You can have your IELTS speaking test with an accent on the condition that the examiner understands you fully. And finally, the fourth point, which I believe that it naturally follows the third point, which is to be understood through the whole exam. So if your accent doesn't affect the examiner's understanding and you apply accurate word and sound pronunciation and you are fully able to use intonation, then you'll be understood through the full test and get a high mark on pronunciation. But now, what about grammar range and accuracy? The grammar range and accuracy main criteria are divided into 3 sub-criteria, using a range of sentence structures, using a range of grammar tenses, and of course, avoiding errors. So using a range of sentence structures means that the examiner expects you to use simple sentences, complex sentences, compound sentences, and complex compound sentences. As integrating all types of sentences in your test will demonstrate your good command of the language. Then, using a range of grammar tenses. This simply means not sticking only to present simple tense and past simple tense. You also have to integrate future, past participle. You also have to integrate future tenses, present perfect tense, past perfect tense when needed, and most importantly, the passive voice. And finally, avoiding errors. This means using a range of sentence structures and a range of grammar tenses accurately and correctly. Now, we talked in detail about grammar range and accuracy and pronunciation. What about lexical resource, the third main criteria? Well, just like pronunciation, lexical resource is divided into 4 sub-criteria. The first one of them is, of course, using less common vocabulary. I'm pretty sure that you know, if you want to get a high score on the IELTS test, you can use everyday words that everyone uses. You have to use advanced vocabulary that not everyone knows or uses. Secondly, of course, paraphrasing. And for those who don't know what paraphrasing is, it's simply re-expressing what you want to say in different words. For example, if you describe something as important in your first sentence and you want to reinforce this idea in the following sentence, you could say that this point is significant or essential. Because essential, significant, and important basically mean the same thing, however, they are not the same word. Or even more simply, you can say in one sentence, I am shorter than my brother, and in the other one, my brother is taller than me. So you basically stated the same fact, but using 2 different ways. Thirdly, you have to use collocations in your IELTS test. And to quickly remind you of collocations, they are words that always come together. For example, we always say, make a decision, have breakfast, take a break, and pay attention. So we don't say, I want to decide a decision. We say, make a decision. So make comes with decision. Same with have breakfast. We don't say, I want to eat breakfast. It's have breakfast. Although eat breakfast wouldn't be grammatically wrong, however, it's closer to natives to say to have breakfast, to have dinner, to have lunch. Same with pay attention. We don't ask people to be attentive. You tell them to pay attention, and so forth. And finally, same as with grammar range and accuracy, to avoid errors. You have to use accurate collocations with each other. When you use advanced vocabulary, you have to use them accurately and to paraphrase your statements correctly as well. So this is it for pronunciation, lexical resource, and grammar range and accuracy. We have one last main criteria, which is fluency. And uniquely, fluency has 5 sub-criteria. And of course, as you guessed, the first one is to talk at length, which means the ability to talk for a long time in English. And as for the second point, without pauses. This means that you don't always have to take a break in the middle of your speech to gather your idea. You can say that talking without pauses is like talking in your own native language. Or let's say without translating the sentences in your mind from your own language to English, to just speak naturally. So the second point is to talk without pauses or hesitation. Now, what about the third sub-criteria? Well, I guess it logically follows the first and the second sub-criteria. It's talking without self-correction. So let's assume that someone is talking at a normal speed, just like natives, without pauses or hesitations, but in order to do that, he speaks incorrectly, so he corrects himself. If this happened a lot, I don't think it would look nice in the IELTS test. That's why you have to take care of this third point. And of course, the fourth point has to be using linking devices. This means conjunctions. The ability to link between your sentences and ideas using conjunctions. So, for example, you don't say, I like meat, my brother likes chicken. It's better to say, I like meat and my brother likes chicken. Or, I like meat, my brother doesn't like meat. It's better to say, I like meat, but my brother doesn't. And finally, the fifth point is a logical result if you apply the 4 points correctly, which is the ability to be understood. So you don't talk very fast that the examiner finds it difficult to follow your ideas, and you don't correct yourself a lot so the examiner forgets what you were saying the first point. You don't make a lot of pauses or hesitations so the examiner gets distracted, and you make it easier for him to follow your ideas through conjunctions. Well, this is everything for fluency. But in my opinion, I suggest that you take care of 2 additional points, which are word stress and sentence stress. Although they take time to clearly demonstrate them to you, however, when you get them, they are very easy. So I shall wait for you. And yes, that's it. Now you know the criteria on which your IELTS speaking test is evaluated. Now you won't have to randomly prepare yourself for the exam or search for a language partner to talk with him on the recent and frequent IELTS topics without knowing exactly what to do. In my classes, I will record your speaking and we will listen to them together and analyze your areas of improvement, whether they are grammar, lexical resource, pronunciation, or fluency, and even dive into the sub-criteria to accurately address the problem and work on it. In other words, after your first class, you will know exactly what you have to improve. Do you have to use less common vocabulary and advanced words? Do you have to use more conjunctions? Do you have to develop the ability of talking at length? Or do you have to make your sound and word pronunciation more accurate? I will guide you through your improvement journey. So, I shall see you in class.